The snare of the fowler takes our focus, our attention, our time, and our worship because we are trying to reconcile relationships with the enemies of our souls. Jesus did not reconcile with his enemies when he was here on the earth. Jesus was crucified, persecuted, shamed, gaslighted, smear campaigned, and humiliated by his enemies because he refused to agree and reconcile with the Pharisees and the Romans and the governments of his day, and he died as a ransom sacrifice because he didn't reconcile and he was unwilling to be in agreement with the enemies of his soul and with his Father. The empath's biggest defects of character that attracts a wolf-like predator is a false prophet that masquerades themselves as a wolf in sheep's clothing. The false prophets that walk among us and act as if they are in agreement with Christ. They walk around as pastors and ministers of light, but they are in sheep's clothing. Because we are peacemakers, we and empathic, our defect of character is that we try to reconcile with our enemies. We find a wolf like this wolf here, who's obviously a predator and very hungry, and we try to reconcile with our enemies, which are the wolves. But many times wolves will appear as sheep, and so sometimes we don't realize we're dealing with a wolf. The defect of character that ensnares a person like ourselves to a narcissist is that a narcissist is operating in the works of the flesh. And when we are in a relationship with them, when we engage with a false prophet who's a wolf, we are engaged in an unevenly yoked relationship or transaction or divine assignment or divine appointment. We take it on as a personal challenge because of our own sense of spirit of pride and arrogance that we have the power and the ability to reconcile with the enemies of our soul. We also want to win, and we want to be happy and successful, and we think that we have the ability to change the heart condition of that person who is demonstrating that they are in fact a false prophet or a wolf. These people can be people that we truly love, people that present a false image that they're good. They can be parents, relatives, spouses, or children. Remember, Jesus did not reconcile with his enemies, and he was crucified by his enemies because he didn't reconcile or comply or agree with the Jewish and the Roman laws of Caesar in the days when he was on the earth. He didn't agree with the governments of that time. When we reconcile with our enemies, we literally become powerless to access God's power because we become unevenly yoked with a wolf. Wolves and sheep can't be together because the wolf will devour a sheep if the sheep is not protected. So what did Jesus say about living in this world but being amongst the enemies and amongst sheep amongst the wolves in this world? He said, Luke 6:20, "Blessed are you poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. Blessed are you who hunger now, for you shall be filled. Blessed are you who weep now, for you shall laugh. Blessed are you when men hate you, and when they exclude you, and revile you, and cast out your name as evil, for the Son of Man's sake. Rejoice in that day and leap for joy, for indeed your reward is great in heaven. For in the manner their fathers did to the prophets. But woe to you who are rich, for you have received your consolation. Woe to you who are full, for you shall hunger. Woe to you who laugh now, for you shall mourn and weep. Woe to you when all men speak well of you. So did their fathers to the false prophets. But I say to you who hear, love your enemies, Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you, and pray for those who spitefully use you. To him who strikes you on the one cheek, offer the other also. And from him who takes away your cloak, do not withhold your tunic either. Give to everyone who asks of you, and from him who takes away your goods, do not ask them back. As just as you want men to do to you, you also want them to do to you likewise. So if a false prophet takes away your character, do not ask for that character back from them. But if you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners love those who love them. And if you do good to those who do good to you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners do the same. And if you lend to those from whom you hope to receive back, what credit is that to you? For even sinners lend to sinners to receive as much back. But love your enemies, do good, and lend, hoping for nothing in return. And your reward will be great, and you will be sons of the Most High. For he is kind to the unthankful and the evil. Therefore be merciful, just as your Father also is merciful. So we have to look at when we love our enemies. This isn't not money, so to speak, in the banking system of today. But when you love your enemies, this is banking the spirit of love. Think about it. We're walking in a den of wolves and of hungry lions, and we think we have the power to reconcile and not be stolen from, not be killed, and not be destroyed. When we enter the battlefield of their area of control, the narcissist area of control, and their turf, or within their false narrative, we're playing in their game, we're playing in their agenda, the construct of their controlled false reality, their delusion, the construct of the false narrative, the construct of the smear campaign, the gaslighting, the projection of the narcissist reality, because the narcissist will always take their sins and project those sins onto you. Then they will construct a false narrative and say you are the object of their wrath. They create a smear campaign and gaslighting. They always become the victim, and they're the wolf. But they tell everybody else that you're the wolf, you're the predator, and that they're the victim. Projection. This is why the enemy and the false prophet and the wolf, this is why they isolate us. This is why they control us. This is why they manipulate us and dominate us. They isolate us from the rest of the sheep so they can devour and destroy us, so they can steal, kill, and destroy everything that we are willing to give to them if we engage. We must not reconcile with this world and the wolves and the false prophets and the Antichrist that are in it. And we must be steadfast and stand alone if we have to. We have to embrace the spirit of acceptance of this reality. We cannot reconcile with the agents of Satan and their kingdom of darkness. We cannot reconcile with the false prophets, the Antichrist spirits, and the wolves that live among us. Acceptance. This is the definition of acceptance in the Alcoholic Anonymous book, page number 417. And acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. When I am disturbed, it is because I find some person, place, thing, or situation, some fact of my life unacceptable to me. And I can find no serenity until I accept that person, place, thing, or situation as being exactly the way it's supposed to be at this moment. Nothing, absolutely nothing happens in God's world by mistake. Until I could accept my alcoholism, I could not stay sober. Unless I accept life completely on life's terms, I cannot be happy. I need to concentrate not so much on what needs to be changed in the world as on what needs to be changed in me, in my attitudes. Shakespeare said, all the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players. He forgot to mention that I was the chief critic. I was always able to see the flaw in every person, every situation. And I was always glad to point it out because I knew you wanted perfection just as I did. AA and acceptance has taught me that there is a bit of good in the worst of us and a bit of bad in the best of us. That we are all children of God and we each have a right to be here. When I complain about me or about you, I am complaining about God's handiwork, and I am saying that I know better than God. So acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. When I am disturbed, it is because I find some person, place, thing, or situation, some fact of my life, unacceptable to me, and I can find no serenity until I accept that person, place, thing, or situation as being exactly the way it's supposed to be at this moment. I need to accept that I cannot reconcile with the agents of Satan and the kingdom of darkness. Our personal passion for reconciliation or ministry or trying to equalize and calibrate God's kingdom with the kingdom of darkness causes us to be relentless, tenacious, stubborn, rebellious, determined, and we don't want to give up. The definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results. We have to practice acceptance and let go of the outcomes. We must surrender to our defects of character, which is trying to reconcile with the agents of Satan and the kingdom of darkness. We must surrender to God and to his kingdom and let God handle the justice in all of our situations where we are encountering injustice. We want justice and we want vindication, but we have to let God do his job. We want to defend our honor and respect. So we push ourselves onto the agents of Satan and their kingdom of darkness. We actually sin and trespass and commit inequities against the construct of the agents of Satan and the kingdom of darkness. We walk into a den of wolves and we actually expect that by engaging our kingdom into their world, that they will, in essence, see the light. It's very interesting to see our participation into the kingdom of darkness as it truly is. We provide interference into their boundaries and their balance of their kingdom of darkness and their false narrative, their construct. Narcissistic injury is caused by our interference of sin, trespasses, and inequities into their kingdom of darkness. We as empaths and children of God are also trying to recalibrate and equalize the pyramid structure and the kingdom of God in a world that we're not a part of. We are tolerating the agents of Satan and the kingdom of darkness and the false prophets and the antichrist spirits because we are not accepting our reality to which kingdom we belong to. When we understand our identity and that we are children of God and we are representing God's kingdom on earth as it is in heaven, when we walk into a den of wolves and we speak and the word goes nowhere, we're committing sin, trespasses, and inequity because we're trying to recalibrate the kingdom of darkness that we live in to God's kingdom. Now, if there's one of us and I walk into a den of wolves of like 25, we can't expect to walk into a den of wolves of 2,500 to 1 and expect that the words that we speak are going to make any one of those wolves, false prophets, and agents of Satan change their way. We are not able to recalibrate an entire kingdom of darkness when they ally in their network and in their allegiances to one another. We do not have the power. The only one that has the power to do that is that individual person. They individually have to choose which God they're going to serve and which kingdom they're going to serve. All we can do is be in acceptance of our reality. Let people be people. Let them do what they do and accept that God is going to take care of it and it's not our problem. The false prophets, we hope that God's giving them enough time and the antichrist spirits to turn around and see the error of their ways. All we can do when we encounter a wolf and a false prophet and an antichrist spirit in this world is share with them the fruits of the Spirit, which is love, joy, peace, goodness, mildness, gentleness, self-control, and faithfulness. But we're not going to disrupt and resonate the frequency of the kingdom of darkness if they're strong in their world and they're strong in their sin and they have allegiance with. Anyway, we do not have the power to change the heart condition of a human being who is destined to be a wolf, especially a wolf in sheep's clothing. So accept that you are a child of God and there are other people in this world that are not.